Hello, everybody. Well, we have got the CPI after waiting for the month, and it was exactly what they thought. As I said yesterday, for like 5 months in a row, I think I might have gotten this backwards, the actual number came in beneath expectations, and this one matched expectations. In spite of that, I guess they were worried about something much worse, particularly with tariffs kicking in, and the market has rallied mightily to lifetime highs in most cases, pretty much across the board. As of this moment, the ES and NQ are up about 1%, and the small caps are blowing the doors off everybody. They're up almost 3%. And the RTY is up 63.5 points. So it's been a very green day. Precious little red on the screen today. So I've got some charts preloaded. I want to thumb through those with you. And as far as the rest of the week goes, there's no news tomorrow, no economic data. Thursday is the PPI, which in my experience, nobody really cares about. And then Friday is some retail data. And we're kind of past the cool part of the earnings season, as you well know. So that's kind of all we got. So let's start banging through these. Looking at the spider, we have finally a lifetime high on this. The prior peak was on the 31st of July and basically fell all that day. But the intraday high was that day. We have beat that. So we're going to wind up with a new lifetime closing high and a new lifetime intraday high. Because as I say, the ES right now is up 64 points. The diamonds, also green, although not quite at lifetime high territory just yet. The peak on that one for the ETF was on the 23rd. And just to emphasize, the cash market has a resemblance, but not as identical to the index itself. Because the Dow index itself, I believe, peaked back in December. And we've not beat that. The ETF incorporates the dividends. And so since those dividends are built in, the ETF does better than the cash index. Therefore, the lifetime high that I just showed you wasn't the lifetime high in the cash index, but ETF it is. Just a little bit of a distinction to make there. In the confines of that, I would mention, there's some items here and there which are on the weaker side, like IBM, Big Blue, is actually down today, which is quite a feat. And it's actually been very weak for weeks. Its own peak was set way back in June. As you can see, we sort of slowly sunk lower, had the big gap down based on earnings, and they've been banging down ever since. This is the fourth day in a row that we've had a pretty big red bar on this. And IBM has undone its gains. Pretty much we're back the price matching to where we were 8 months ago in December. And that also takes some doing in this market, but IBM quite weak amongst the big stocks. And then I said, small caps have been exceptionally strong today. IWM is up 2.7%. Zoom in on here, getting quite close to this peak here, which was not the lifetime high. That was the counter trend, if we can still say that, rally. 226.71 was the peak. We are half a dollar away from that now, and it would not take much to bust through that. So the lifetime high itself on the ETF was way back last November. So that'll take some more doing, but we are getting close to a prospective breakout on that. This is the biggest day cut on the IWM in months, it seems. Cubes are also up a little more than 1%. Lifetime high intraday, lifetime high close, almost certainly. We're pushing above this very long-term resistance line. And as usual, it's all about AI and NVIDIA and semiconductors, kind of the usual suspects. Some of the mega caps in there that are of aid to that is Alphabet, GWGL, up about 1.5% and getting very, very close to its own lifetime high. Let's just mark that and drag it up like so. And this is the peak back in February of this year. And as you can see, we're getting very close to besting that high. Here's Meta, which is up about $24. Lifetime high on this. This big gap here was, of course, on the heels of a very strong earnings report. It's been about 8 days or so just kind of digesting those gains, and then another leap today. I think it's kind of a combination of both the strong market and the news that their Threads product has exceeded 400 million active users. Another big one, which is just recently put on its running shoes, Apple. Apple had been a real laggard for a long time, and just in recent days had a huge burst higher on the 5th of August and another one on the 8th of August. We have busted through this descending trend line. Unlike Meta, which is lifetime highs, and unlike Alphabet, which is near lifetime highs, it's a ways away from its own lifetime highs, which are way up here back in Boxing Day of last year. But nonetheless, it has had a real burst of strength just over the past week. Not in the Mag 7, but kind of an old school NASDAQ stock, also at lifetime high, eBay. This had done this formation here like so, based for a very long time, and recently has had a big burst higher, kind of like Meta, launched by a very strong earnings report. A little bit more of a laggard, it's still green, is Oracle. It seems to have stalled out a bit. Its own peak was on the 31st of July, but since then has been just kind of grinding away. So really not very inspired by these, by its compatriots after this big run higher. So this is stalled out. I put in a short position on this one about an hour ago or so. As far as semiconductors go, SMH, another strong day, another lifetime high, 2.1% gain here. We had pushed above this prior peak, spent a few weeks kind of consolidating those gains, and then recently have eased higher and then burst higher today. So very strong day with tech. There are some smaller firms, that is to say not NVIDIA, that are doing particularly well today. One is ON Semiconductor, ON, which is up over 6%. 51.53 is the line in the sand for me on that one. And Microchip, up even stronger percentage-wise, up 6.19%. And the line on that one is right along there. And we've got close to it, but we've eased off just a little bit. But you can see this topping formation is still intact on MCHP. This is one we haven't looked at in a little while, but Axon, you may remember, we had this long channel going on this one. Here's the resistance line, this red line here. And what's happened recently is they had their earnings that went blasting higher, and it actually peaked back on the 7th. And since then, it has really had a hard time of it. It peaked at 885, and then we had a big down day and another big down day and an even bigger down day. So we have lost $113 in the span of 3 days following that, which kind of makes sense because if you look at the long term, it had gotten very lofty relative to its long-term price like so. So it is probably going to settle down very soon because we're getting close to this price gap like so, right there, getting in the vicinity of that. That'll probably provide a measure of support and stop the plunge. Qubit, QUBT, short this. It's down a little, which is a big achievement in a market like this today. 17.24, the stop on that, and we have not violated that. Another one, just got into yesterday, Roblox, RBLX. This one also managing a little bit of red, 0.71%. Importantly here, this is an island reversal pattern right here. This one bar, whose low is higher than anything that followed it or preceded it. That's the nature of those island reversals. So this is still intact as well, so long as it stays under or does not exceed 135.65. So that's Roblox. I was looking at the various positions I've got, looking like what are the best gainers on the shorts that I've got right now. And there's a couple. They're probably both up today, but the amount of time I've held them, they've done the best. I just wanted to peek at those. One of them is Royal Caribbean. So it's up today 3%. But this is the best gainer so far. Zooming on this, it peaked up here. And since then, it had this nice gap down and has been slipping lower in fits and starts like so. And I'm going to stick with this one unless it exceeds 316.50. And the other one that's been doing well, which is up just a little bit today, just a few pennies, is FMC. This one's been taking a real nice tumble lately. Many red bars in a row. Today's the first speck of green we've gotten, but this one has been a good position. But the thing that's really surprising to me is the CPI came out and it was as expected. People clearly were worried about a higher number because of tariffs. That didn't happen. So they're celebrating by bidding up stocks. And yet the bonds are still down. The ZB is down about 0.5%. The TLT here is down about 0.6%. And the pattern that we look at pretty much every day is still in formation. As I've said all along, this is a huge pattern. It goes back for years. It may never complete. It is a long way from completing, but there's nothing that's happened to invalidate it. And it's a little odd to me that on a day like this, even this would be sinking. So worth noting. It's compatriot, which is based on a shorter term security, the IEF. This is the 7 to 10 year Treasury ETF. This one, if it ever does get above this enormous green base that's been building, it'd be a very good, strong bullish pattern. It hasn't done that yet, and it's actually, as with the TLT, although to a smaller degree percentage-wise, it too is selling off a little bit today. So just kind of unusual. As far as metals go, XME, very strong day. 2.6% gain here, lifetime high. This had been the peak way back in 2008, so 17 years ago, had this peak. Obviously had this calamitous fall, big reversal here, and here, and here, and here. So this security clearly has a tendency to top out and drop out. We haven't had any clean tops really since then. We did have one here, kind of a sloppy one, but it didn't produce much of a fall, and it's not very well formed. The last meaningful clear top was way back here in 2018, and as it is now, we have beat and bested by some degree the peak set way back 17 years ago. So that's XME. As far as gold goes, it's actually down today. GLD is down 0.12%. The front month is off a little over $5, and we're still kind of in this consolidation zone like so. We might just draw a little triangle pattern like so and neaten that up a little bit. So this right here, it is consolidating within this triangle, and what gold bulls want to see is for it to beat the peak set on April 22, 317.63. If it can manage to do that, there's going to be a whole nother leg up to this thing, much as was achieved back here. This is very similar to what happened back here. Once it finally cut loose, then it could start that new series of higher highs and higher lows. As far as Bitcoin goes, it's moving up a little bit. We're still kind of tethered for a couple of weeks now to this trend line, as you can see, very stuck right there. It needs to kind of put on its booster rockets to really escape from that. As it is now, it's just kind of glued to that zone. But back to the point I was making earlier, it's kind of all about the ZB long term to see if it ultimately breaks below that, because the market's really counting on persistently lower interest rates. And just as one last fun chart, because we did the CPI, there's the long-term one. This goes all the way back to, when does this start? 1913 or so. And as you can see, there was a period where we had inflation, then deflation. The inflation has really never looked back since. Either things are inflating or really inflating. And as it is here, as you can see, in spite of things not being terrible month to month, it adds up. Thus, a chart like this.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe right here. And if you want to meet me and the team in person at our next live event, hit the link at the top of the description.